Oh yeah, I'm excited about this one. It's all about that bite. But the word bite doesn't do it justice. All the training and hours and refining of the strike. Woo! The grip, that strong, hard grip. And the leverage. And I'm gonna show you what those things look like right now. This video is for informational purposes. Please do not try to attempt any of the techniques seen in this video without first consulting a past proven reliable trainer and/or handler. Thank you. All right, we are back here at the Canine Training Facility, so let's get into this. It's all about that bite. That's the name of the video. And if you're watching this, there's a really good chance at some point you've seen a canine demonstration. Someone running down a field in a big bite suit, taking a hit, or maybe they were wearing a sleeve, or maybe it was a whole choreographed routine. So what we're gonna do in this video is dive deep into that, okay? That little 30-second demo that you saw, what went into getting that dog to do that? Just the 30 seconds. But first, let me talk about something. Even though this video is for entertainment and informational purposes, what we're talking about is extremely serious. We're talking about a canine bite on a suspect. It's considered a less lethal tool. It's governed by agency policy, deployment criteria, and case law, which all three a handler is thoroughly trained on in canine school. But without the dog possessing certain skills to make them reliable on the street, all the handler training doesn't really matter. You're not going to have a dog that will engage each and every time when needed on the street. So we're going to take a look at the bite itself. I break it down into three categories: the strike, the grip, and leverage. So I'm going to start with the grip first. When I go look for a dog for my program, I test numerous dogs, and I'm looking for that top dog. All the dogs may be capable, but at that moment in time, I want to pick the one that I know through experience, when I've seen these behaviors, they're going to do well in my program. Dog selection is a whole nother video. We'll get into that later. But right now, just know that when I select these dogs, I'm looking for the best, the fastest, the strongest to enter my program that I can work with. Now, when I test these dogs, they're really familiar with this thing right here. This is a jute bite sleeve, and most of the foundation work up to what we call a green dog or an untrained dog has been on this. And they do have some training in them, some more than others. And what good trainers do is they go out and they know the dog to pick to make them look like a better trainer than they actually are, if they get the opportunity. So what I'm looking for when I select a dog is a dog that is really good on this bite sleeve. I will use this sleeve in the beginning of the class. I use it because it's familiar to the dog. What's not familiar to the dog is this entire area behind me. So I use something familiar to get the dog comfortable and in the routine of things that's going to happen. The bite work is going to be in the same location every day in the start. That's where we build the fundamentals. When the dog shows he's comfortable biting his favorite sleeve and he's comfortable with the area and he initiates activity, meaning I can be completely passive, and when he gets into this area, he knows what's going on and he's very aggressive and ready to get to work, then I know the dog is ready for the next phase. The next phase is I introduce them to a second sleeve. This sleeve here is more consistent with the equipment that I'm going to be using in the days to come. So to do this, I put this big jute sleeve on and I put this sleeve on the other arm. Then I move forward and the dog is already full of energy. He already knows what the game is in this area, and I give him a grip or a bite on the big sleeve that he loves so much. and then I slip it. And when I slip it, I simply rotate and give him the other sleeve that he's never seen and see what he does. What I'm hoping for is that he drops the exposed sleeve and engages this new sleeve that I have on. This goes back to the selection process that I was talking about before. There was traits that I saw in the dogs that I select that will increase the probability of the dog dropping his favorite exposed sleeve and engaging this other sleeve he's never bit before. When a dog does that transfer and bites the sleeve he's never seen before, now I got him. Now, this sleeve right here is gone. Gone forever. The dog will never see that sleeve again. I have no use for it. Now, it's all about this bad boy right here. And I'm gonna work him on this sleeve until he's biting it as good or better than that other sleeve. And when I get him to that level, when his grip is really good on this sleeve, then we move to the next step. The next step is leg bites. The dog, his entire life up to this point, generally, has been arm bites. What I've found over the years is by starting legs right away at this stage, it really works well for me teaching the skills that I'm trying to teach this dog. So to start with legs, I back them down to a tuck. And I back them down to this for one reason. I want to teach the dog, when it comes to leg bites, to turn his head. So if this is my leg, I need the dog not to bite like this. I need him to learn to rotate his head and engage. And this is the equipment that I'm going to use to do that. I don't use it long. I just get that out of the dog, and then we move on to the next step. All right, that next step is this bad boy right here. This is a leg sleeve. All right, so this goes on the leg, and when the dog is well versed on the tug and turning his head real nice, I put this on. But I don't only put this on. There's another skill that I'm going to try to teach this dog. And to teach it, I have to put two of these on. One on the left leg, one on the right leg. Remember, I'm trying to make a police dog that will engage each and every time on the street. And now I want him to be an opportunist, meaning if it gets close to you, you take it without thinking. Dogs can become very fixated or obsessive, compulsive to a certain piece of equipment, to a certain bite location. So to combat that, I very early introduced to the dog that he never knows what he's going to get to bite. He knows he wants to bite, but I'm playing chess with him. So with two leg sleeves, I can do that. With two leg sleeves, I can approach the dog, and if he's hyper-focused on one leg, he doesn't bite that leg. He has to bite the other one. And over time, he will not be hyper-focused on one target location. He'll be ready for any target location. And if it comes within his range, it's his. Now, when the dog is showing that he will take either leg, a nice grip, he's turning his head for the strike, we then move to the bite suit. So I have the suit on and I approach the dog, and I am not forecasting anything. I want to be as passive as possible. I am simply going to walk to this dog. And when I can walk to this dog and the dog is giving 100% of the energy and I'm giving as little as possible, and the dog tells me he is going to engage that leg, the left leg, and then I offer up the right leg and he immediately engages it, I got him. Now I'm going to start using the suit pants to build time on the grip. So ideally, I'm rocking around 1 minute. That's what I want to see. I'm going to walk back and forth for about a minute straight, and I want to see the dog pushing into the grip, which we'll talk about more, and really solid and biting hard. When I get that, the dog is ready for the next step. The next step is the tunnel. The tunnel is my ability to manipulate the environment to increase the chances I get what I want. I want to send that dog just 10 feet. I want to send him 10 feet, and I want him to grip the leg. Up to this point, he's always been tied out with some type of back pressure. Well, now he's free. He's free for up to 10 feet. And this is where I want to see that strike. Full, confident, and hard to the leg. From there, we back away from the tunnel. We put back pressure with the line. You'll see the handler come in and grab the line, and we'll work in a straight motion. As the decoy walks away in a straight line, he will pause. On the pause, slack will be put in the line, and then the dog, what we want to see the dog do is push forward. If the dog does not push forward and bite harder, we just hold. If the dog starts pulling backwards or thrashing his head, we hold. And when the dog gives us our behavior that we want, we reward him by adding the back pressure, and the decoy starts moving again. And we do this in straight lines for about 20, start out maybe 10 feet, and then we work our way up to 30, 40 feet. When the dogs reach that 30, 40 feet and they're doing exactly what we want, it's time for the next step. The next step is the van. I use a sliding door to manipulate the environment. So I increase my chances of the dog giving me the behavior I want and him not reverting back to his old training and trying to grab the arm and whatnot. So the van allows me to introduce a passive man bite in a van. The dog doesn't get to see the whole decoy now. It's a whole different sight picture for this dog. And we use the leg bites to do this. The handler places the dog on the bite. So now he's also introducing a new skill, is his ability to take that dog by the collar and place that dog on a bite, and the dog immediately understand that wherever daddy points, that is what he is to engage. It's a very important skill. Now, when that dog engages, the door stays shut, everything stays the same until that dog gives us a counter. When that dog counters, which means push forward, bite deeper, bite harder, as soon as that dog does that, the decoy must act right away. This is all the decoy timing now. The decoy is extremely important in teaching this dog this proper grip. When that occurs, that door flies open. When that happens, now the backline pressure is placed on the dog and the decoy comes out of the car. That straight line that the dog is familiar with, and we work on that grip. Now, we do as many sessions in each of these steps that it takes. The only thing that dictates we go to step 2, step 3, step 4 is the dog. The dog controls it all. We can't move too fast. The dog has to be ready for the next step, so we get the best results. So now we've got him going into a van. We got him hitting a passive man. We've got a nice, beautiful counter. The decoy's timing is perfect. Well, now we up it again. We're going to up it by teaching the dog to not only counter, but to push. How we do that? We go to another van. This van has 2 doors that, when they're open, that create basically an alleyway. So the decoy sits in the van and he's ready. He takes the leg bite, and now when the dog counters, he moves deeper into the van. And every time that dog counters, the decoy immediately gives some sort of verbal ow or oh or whatever he wants to say, but he has to move. The timing has to be perfect. And that dog learns to push instead of pull. This process continues as the dog starts pushing more and pushing more, comes out the other side, back pressure is put on the line, and now we start our line and we work that grip even more. When we're at this stage and the dog's doing phenomenal and he's countering and he's looking good and he's pushing, we now move him up the bite suit. I tie them back out to the line and I give them an arm bite. I start working the arm bite. Now I'm going to use the arm bite just to get them started, but then no more outer arm bite. Not when we're in a bite suit. A bite suit is to teach a dog to bite several different areas and be comfortable doing it and take whatever is given. I then start showing them what's called a pocket bite. After I get them on the pocket, then we start sending them on 10 to 15 foot sends to that pocket strike. The pocket swing is the first step in teaching the dog to leave the ground and strike as hard as he can. After the canine is looking good on those pocket strikes, we move to the next phase. Now I manipulate the environment again with my favorite little tunnel, but this time, instead of the dogs going through it, they're going over it. This causes the dog to fully commit and launch and hit that pocket. This improves their strike and teaches them to launch and commit and hit as hard as they can. And we work that grip and we start upping it. I start putting more pressure on the dog and letting him answer that with the behaviors I want. That forward punch, that forward grip, that hard bite. That's what we're looking for. Now, that is the foundation of the grip and the strike. So now we're going to talk about leverage. So leverage is basically a byproduct of grip and strike proofing. 90% of the time, the mere presence of a police dog will change a resistant suspect's behavior, and we're able to take them into custody without using any force at all. They just give up. Canines have been proven to be extremely effective in changing a suspect's behavior. So if 90% of the time suspects give up and we don't have to use any force just because of the mere presence of the dog, that leaves us with that 10%. That 10%, we actually have to send the dog for an engagement. Many times, that strike and that grip causes a suspect to change his behavior so we can rapidly take them into custody. As soon as the dog grips them, they give up and no more force is needed. However, there is that 1%. That 1% that will fight the dog, fight the handler, actively resist, and try to assault the officers and the dog. This is where the leverage of the dog becomes so useful. When the strike doesn't change a suspect's behavior, when the grip doesn't change a suspect's behavior, the dog is still in place. It still provides leverage for officers to use additional force. They could use a taser, they could use pepper spray, and they can go hands-on. The dog has to be conditioned to stay in place and hold that beautiful grip while this other force is applied. So that's leverage in a nutshell. And that is going to be perfected over the service life of the dog. But we build the foundation in the initial course. Now remember, this is a Reader Digest overview of the grip. The devil's in the details. If I was to truly break down each of these steps, this would be an 8-hour video or maybe even more. I try to keep it as entertaining as possible, but from here, there's a lot more work to do. We've got to introduce them to the hidden sleeve, the muzzle, civil agitation, and proofing the bite on fake arms and fake limbs. So that's all going to be done in another video called How to Avoid Engagement Failure, where we cover all that. So if you haven't, hit the subscribe and hit that little bell so you know when that video drops. So thank you for checking in, and I got to go.